Okay, so here we go. Just real quick, and and if I were you, I'd make sure read from the NLT, New Living Translation, or you could use something like the NIV. And remember, it sounds like you're reading in context, Mark 7:24 through 30, and you see it's not a parable. It's an encounter that Jesus had when he was staying in the region of Tyre. And this woman, this Gentile, comes up to him, a Syrophoenician, and he does use a derogatory term. It was a derogatory term, or it was, deprecating. It was used by the Jews to talk about, because dogs were unclean and many Gentiles were unclean. They would contact things that could make the Jew unclean and not be able to go and worship. So, they kind of considered them both the same thing to a degree. So the Greeks actually use the word kind of like we do. She's a bee, kind of thing. But when Jesus uses it, he doesn't even say, you're a dog. He just says, I've come to bring this to Israel and not to all the, dogs and animals and everything like that. And he uses the word in the Greek. He uses a word that's not just dog. It's like little puppy or little doggy, so it's kind of more of an affectionate term, You might even say, Jesus said, it isn't right to take the food from the kids and throw it to the puppies. Because usually you would get puppies for the kids and so on. So, anyway, it's all about this woman showing that, even this, this Jewish itinerant preacher who is obviously going to the people of Israel, but here he is. My daughter has a demon. She's sick and possessed, and nobody can help her. I'm going to Jesus. And she does. And Jesus answers. And he even says, right? He says, because she says, even puppies sit around and wait for the scraps to fall out of the master's mouth. And he says, for this saying, go your way, the demon is gone from your daughter. And what does she do? She goes home because she trusts him and believes him. And it's not because she did that. It was a testimony to her because she saw it. It was because Jesus kicked the demon out. The right response is that we trust Jesus, no matter what. And even if it looks like, we're not getting delivered, these things aren't happening, that's okay. Reminder, like I said, this is not a parable. This is an encounter that Jesus had with this woman while he was staying at someone's house in Tyre. It's even what we went through in Matthew, right? He tells the disciples to go out and go to the Jews and not even go to Samaria, right? Because they were half and half, right? They were half breeds, and he was like, don't even go to Samaria, just go to Israel, So because Israel would be filled with the gospel, would be primed and pumped, and then when he resurrected and Pentecost came, it changed everything dramatically, and the church just went all over the world when these Jews went all back to their places after Pentecost. So it's just amazing to see God at work in all this, to see his plans even in places where we couldn't get it. And when you say, well, how can we say Jew? Well, it's, Romans 1:16 and 17. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. It is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, for the Jew first and also for the Greek. So it's like the Jews were the first ones because he would use these Jews, the apostles, the disciples. Our entire Bible is replete with God using Israel still to tell the world about his mercy and his grace. And this woman truly understood Jeremiah 29:13, even though she may not never have read it, she lived it. And you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. There's a lot of dumb TikTok, carnal, evil people on Facebook and Twitter and all those things trying to make this about misogyny or racism or some of those things. He never directly called her a dog. He simply used a visual language that she would understand on why he was not going to, but yet, the desperation, she uses the same language to tell him, I'm here and I need you. So, it would bless us to be like that woman, right? To go after him, to cry out to him, to pray to him, to worship him, to sing to him. She throws herself on the ground. Are we willing to humble ourselves that much to do it? God bless this.